What's going on, Buff fans? Live from Folsom Field here, post-game show. Colorado just beat Oklahoma State 52-0. Total beatdown by the Buffs, and I would still say that the offense didn't even play that well. But jumped out early to a 21-0 lead. Oklahoma State's first 5 plays from scrimmage were all negative. Loss, a sack, an interception, another loss, another sack. It was brutal. Colorado outgained them 471 to 147. 438 passing yards for the Buffs for Shedeur Sanders to go with 5 touchdowns in the air. Also threw an interception. It was nasty. 26 first downs to 10 for Oklahoma State. The time of possession was actually kind of even. Roughly 33 minutes for the Buffs, 27 for the Cowboys. But kind of inflated because Oklahoma State had that long last drive where they just chewed the clock out with 8 minutes left. But one big takeaway, Nick, what would you have your big takeaway be from today?
Just that I guess we'll get to it a little later down the line, but I like what who is it that said it? Cameron Silman Craig said that the Buffs kind of set the standard this season.
I think he said standard 400 times.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with that because he's right. There really was no standard, and so
You think Carl Durrell had a standard at this school?
The standard of
maybe a while ago.
Standard of losing?
Oh yeah, so I think they did set the foundation beautifully, and so I think it was capped off really well. I think they gave the seniors a really good treatment. It's kind of melancholy seeing all those people leave because it's just. And the funniest thing about it is that this game doesn't really mean anything for the championship because we're waiting on tomorrow's games.
Yeah,
but
waiting on tomorrow. Patrick, what's your takeaway? Only one. Not 4. One.
This offense is still wildly inefficient. Is my takeaway.
Yep.
Pat Shurmur I don't think he's been bad, but I think he's very much benefited from having one of, if not the best receiving cores in the entire country. This roster at the beginning of the year was 6 deep, guys that would start anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
And they've dealt with some injuries, but they've still got Travis Hunter, Will Shepard, LeJontay Wester, and Draylon Miller was pretty good today.
Yeah.
And so, they got the star power that can go up and make a 50-50 catch. That's going to be this crazy highlight. But when it's 4th and 1, they false start. When it's 3rd and 1, they get stuffed up the middle. When it's 1st and goal, they somehow end up at the 35-yard line. So this offense, I know they won 52-0, and I don't want to be all doom and gloom.
I agree with you.
I'm generally a more positive than not person, but this was an incredibly frustrating game to watch.
The second quarter was so bad, and Shedeur just said it in the press conference. He's like, we were in a bit of a gray area. They changed things up, but there was a long gray. It was 4 drives where it was whoa, this is.
This team was still 5 of 12 on 3rd down today, which brings them to. If I'm doing the math right, 13 to 46.
43. 13 to wait.
It was 31 before. So
yeah.
So 13 of 43 or 43 in the last 4 games.
Yeah.
Not good.
3rd down.
Not good. We're not math majors here. We don't do math here.
But that doesn't sound good coming off the tongue.
No.
So
yeah, it's not good.
They are, and like we talked about pregame, you feel so much better about this team on 3rd and 15 than you do on 3rd and 1 because they just cannot. When you need an inch, they just can't get an inch.
Nope.
Yeah. Let's go to our 3 stars of the game. I'll start DJ McKinney. We're gonna go backwards here. Obviously, you guys see Travis Hunter 1st star, LeJontay Wester 2nd star, DJ McKinney 3rd star. I'm gonna talk about McKinney. He had that one interception, the pick 6 against his former team. He had another couple of great pass breakups. He only got counted for 1 pass breakup, but he had 3 plays where he was in there getting the ball away.
Yeah.
I thought he had a great impact, and that poor quarterback. You remember that video of Sam Darnold saying he was seeing ghosts?
Yeah.
That was hard to watch.
I felt so bad for the kid, freshman.
Yep.
Malachi Smith.
38% completion.
11 for 29 with 70 yards and 2 interceptions. But I thought DJ McKinney was great in coverage. He wasn't getting beat. He was always in phase, and then he rewarded it against his former team with an interception for a touchdown. and a nice celebration, which we'll look at a little later. But yeah, great performance from DJ McKinney. But he wasn't even the best one in the secondary, I thought. As we'll get to it, we saw what Travis Hunter did. But LaJohntay Wester also had a phenomenal performance.
Yeah, Wester is just they lose Jimmy Horn, and you kind of you need that speedy guy back.
Yeah,
Wester is just like that and so much more. Like his hands are unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I've seen him drop a pass.
No, and he had a couple. I remember there's one slant where he was getting wrapped up at the waist, and he still kind of reached out and was able to get it. He's got great.
11 catches for 175 yards, and 113 of those yards is yak. This guy turns any play.
That's a little skewed because
the one on the sideline, the 49-yarder.
No, that one was 69 yards.
Was that?
Yeah, that one was long.
Jesus.
Because Oklahoma State blitzed and they ran an out route to Wester. He's one-on-one, and this guy slipped.
Yep.
And then he was I think any of us could have ran that.
Yeah.
But even then, you still got 70 yak yards.
Yeah.
And Hunter had 28. So this guy turns any catch into something more.
Yes.
And he's not just this burner dude who just catches on the outside and goes. He makes big catches over the middle. Mm-hmm. He makes catches in traffic.
Well, my big thing too is he had 11 catches on just 11 targets.
Yeah.
Every time Shedeur threw it his way, he caught it.
Yeah.
Which was very, very impressive in my eyes. So, and then the first star is Travis Hunter. We have our own segment about him because he's that good. So we'll get to Hunter in a little bit, but he's phenomenal. So that's going to be our first star. We'll talk more about him in a bit here. We're going to look at CU's imperfections, though. There's one glaring one, which is on the special teams that they still can't kick a touchback. Christian Palazzo, the kicker from Littleton, he got one. He kicked two more into the end zone, but
they brought him out.
It's just it's a problem, and that allows for big returns. Oklahoma State had one big return today. Other teams, Baylor had the one where they took it to the house here at Folsom. But Coach Prime said that he's going to have that figured out in the press conference. He said he's been hitting that portal. So here's what he said.
They ain't got no problem. They gonna have to. The ball is coming out. Yeah.
Have you been proud of that aspect of your team?
We've handled that. We will have touchbacks next year. I promise you that.
Hey, Coach, how you
told
doing?
you I'm hitting that portal like never before. I already hit it.
So you see there, and he's talking about specifically the portal on that one, not freshmen. We know 5-star kicker from Palmer Ridge down in Colorado Springs. He took a visit here. He's kind of on the radar. He hit a 61-yarder in a game this year. We know he can kick touchbacks. That could be one, but if he's gonna hit the portal, there's gonna be plenty of options for him. But that's a big thing. And then another imperfection was like we were saying, that second quarter, and Shedeur kind of brushed it off and was like, it's fun, problem solving, but they didn't really solve any problems
They just started making the plays.
Yep.
Guys just started winning.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like they were changing up the scheme or anything.
No.
They weren't trying more creative run concepts. They just started winning. And I think that's just a matter of the skill difference from the teams today.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I've not wanted to burn the house down and been like, get Pat Shurmur out of here. But I felt the whole year the team's been very reductive about, we scored 28 points today.
Should have scored double that.
Exactly. Like Texas Tech, they should have had 60.
They should have had 60 again
Utah,
today.
they should have had 60. Today, they should have had 70.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, things are good, but they should be great, and they're not. This team, if their offense was doing what they should do, this team winning 10 or 11 games this year.
Yep.
They're not losing to K-State.
No.
And if they had any type of offense, they're in it in Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas game was different.
Well, even Kansas, I mean, they were only down 2, and then their offense just shut down.
Yeah.
It just shut down, and they had that 3rd and 1 weird play call, and because they had forced enough field goals to get themselves back into that game where it was going to be a last team with the ball, and then they just
sputtered.
They just shut down. That Nebraska game, I don't know.
I mean, the way they played in the second half,
I don't think there was any hope of winning.
I don't know if they're winning it,
No.
but I
That
think
was the Super Bowl. That was that.
That's the
team's-
only game they prepared for. Apparently,
it's just like I said. The team's been very reductive about it.
Yes.
I don't think they're approaching it with the right amount of urgency. At the end of the day, they won 9 games, great, but they should have won some of these games by a lot more, and they should have won K-State, and they were in it in Kansas. And at the end of the day, they only lost by 18 in Nebraska. It's not like it was a 40-point loss. Like, they could have scored more points and been in that.
a team that they destroyed last year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I will say
it's a much different team.
Jeff Sims was the reason.
He was
I don't
terrible.
want
he
to
was
talk.
awful.
I don't want to ruin my day to talk about Jeff Sims, but because he's that bad. But 4 turnovers from your quarterback is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this team. Everyone talks about control your destiny, and then they talk about the defense in the Kansas game. How about this offense put it together and rushed for more than the 132nd rushing offense in the nation? And how about they do better than 5 of 12 on third down?
Yeah.
And they
Yep.
don't have what were their penalty yards today? It was 9 penalties for 70 yards. So
Yeah.
there's so many more things than just the defense in the Kansas game that could have made this team win 11 games this year.
And that's the last imperfection we're going to talk about is the penalties. We said it pregame. They're 118th in the country going into today in penalty yards per game. It was roughly 67 yards per game. Just not good, and they weren't able to fix it again today. So there was one that was kind of worth it though. DJ McKinney on that pick 6 against his former team. I'm not going to say what he did. You guys can go find out what he did. It's reminiscent. The Egg Bowl's being played right now.
Yes, it is.
And if you guys know Egg Bowl lore here between Ole Miss and Mississippi State, you'll know what the celebration is. But here's what he had to say for that 15-yarder that was probably worth it.
Man, it was amazing. I ain't gonna lie, the night before I dreamed about it, it was kind of premeditated, the celebration, honestly. So I was like, man, if they mess up and throw one my way, I'm gonna make them pay for sure. So I kind of had it already in my head, and I just, pulled it out.
So it was weird that he that he said that. He said that it was like prophetic. Like it came to him in a dream that he was going to get some kind of bad look from the quarterback and he was going to pick it off. And he said, I think he said, I'm going to make them pay. And he said it wasn't anything personal, playing Oklahoma State, a team that was doing really good last year and now they're winless in conference play officially. But it was just funny that, in my opinion, I think it was well worth it.
Yeah.
I would take that penalty again, knowing that it would cause that. Sometimes it's just nice to see your team get those big plays, get a celebration, and it doesn't matter what the penalty is after that. Just seeing that celebration just kind of galvanizes that team.
Yeah, but there was some like that. They had the 4th and 6 where they're going to punt, and then they got them to jump, and it was 4th and 1, and they burned the timeout, and then they got a false start.
Yeah.
It's like stuff like that. There was a hold that put them. There's a couple holds that put them back in 1st and
Seaton's
20.
had a few penalty issues.
Seaton
lately.
had a couple. There was the pass interference on Will Shepard down here
In the
on
end
the
zone.
Wester touchdown
Yeah.
on that pick play. Because it's like what the Bears were doing yesterday. Like if you just keep running your route, they're not going to call it. But Shepard like
Started blocking, basically.
started blocking him. So penalties rough. We know that this team's not disciplined this year. Maybe that's going to be something next year that's a big point of emphasis. But it was kind of the imperfections definitely. But now we'll go back to our first star, Travis Hunter. 14th receiving touchdown this year, and his final image at Folsom Field is going to be him just mossing a defender and then hitting the Heisman pose
While getting interfered with.
right in front of the student section. That's one heck of an image to go out with. So that was his 14th touchdown, school record there. 1,152 receiving yards this season. That's 3rd behind Nelson Spruce and Seahawks legend Paul Richardson. And then he's on the 6 award watch list, which we talked about pregame. And then projected top 5 NFL pick. Also, like I said pregame, I hope he goes first to Drake May and the Patriots. That would be amazing. He added to the Heisman campaign. The sports books change their odds to how they feel. I still think I think that it's not like said and done. Like Gene T had 226 yards and a touchdown today.
Yep.
Like
He had a really good 60-yard run too.
like people are calling it over. I don't think it's over, but
No.
I do think that Hunter's the favorite. So, and then today, like, he only had one interception day. He probably could have had 3. He should have had 2.
Dropped the second one.
He had 1. He should have had 2. He could have had 3.
Yep.
Interceptions. He had the 3 touchdowns. Probably could have had 4 if Shador looked at him more on the goal line on that possession where they had to kick that field goal with Mata. And then he had the pass breakup. He had a tackle. And then he had another catch down here on the near sideline where he dunked on another guy. Like, it's...
And
It's-
that catch he
And
almost
then-
had.
and then-
near one-handed.
Yep.
Oh, I wish I had the video of, like, watching that from up here. Like, he goes up.
And you knew he had it.
And
he
he
just
ha-
took
and
that
he
extra
had it.
contact.
He had it, and then he did a full sideways 360-degree rotation because he got hit like in the legs, and he still almost hung on. Like that would have been the greatest catch of all time. So, just a phenomenal performance. I mean, and something that Shador said in the press conference was like about them playing in the bowl game. He's like, this team is not the same if we don't play in that, and I think that that's evident in that K-State game. I think that's evident in the games Travis didn't play last year. Like, but yeah,
After CSU was Oregon
For what?
when he got hurt last year.
yeah, Oregon,
Oregon
and USC.
and USC.
Yeah,
Oh boy,
um,
that was a great season.
And Arizona State, right?
Yeah.
The offense was terrible that game.
yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
The Javon Antonio
That's the
The
Javon
50
Antonio
escape
legacy
from.
game. Javon Antonio legacy game. But Coach Prime again in that press conference, he made it clear who he thinks should be the Heisman Trophy winner.
You've never seen it before. He's the best player in college football. You could find ways to hate, to criticize, to condemn him, and you won't come out of that looking professional, because now you're just searching for something like the idiots was talking about in Thorpe that I guess he didn't have the tackles. Well, if a cornerback has a lot of tackles, that means they caught a lot of balls. That's just stupid. But Travis Hunter proved today, and he's proved every week, that he is the best player in college football. So you got to give me another definition of the award. What's the definition of the award? The award is to go to who? The best quarterback? I don't know how you could be voted in every category at some sort. I think he's up for best offensive player, defensive player, receiver. What he's up for a plethora of things, right? Yes. Yeah. Who else has done that? Ever. So I don't waste my time talking about other athletes that's up for the award as well. That's not fair to them. For me to voice my bold opinion on who should win the award and downgrade them. I ain't got to downgrade them. Travis is him, man. Travis is that dude. Ain't nobody could deal with him on either side of the ball. If we put him at punt return, he would be that dude as well, a kick return as well. He's that guy, and his draft status is going to tell everyone who he is. Shouldn't that tell you who he is? He's probably going to be first or second pick out of the whole draft. That should tell you how dominant.
Yeah, and I like how he mentioned that. I think Shador mentioned it. I don't know. I don't remember if Prime did that. It stinks having to kind of cut down other players in order to kind of give Travis that award, because
Yeah.
I love Genty. I love Mountain West football. You know, I love watching that conference. I love
CBS Sports Network
I
at
love the Broncos.
midnight on Saturday
Yeah.
night is amazing.
I love the Broncos as a team. I like the Rams. Shoot me. But I just like watching that conference, and more importantly, I like watching Genty and what he's doing. You know, I like to see it, but at the same time, I just hate that we're pitting.
Yeah, and
them
it's like
against each other.
you see CU fans like, oh, he had 40 carries, and then you see Boise State fans like, oh, he only had 1 tackle. It's like just
we can support
appreciate
both teams.
ball. Like, come
Yeah.
on. And we can all just join forces and hate on Cam Ward for being
There we-
nonchalant.
There we go.
Exactly.
There we go.
For being so nonchalant. So
You can always spread more negativity together than two separate can spread against each other. So if we join forces, we can make the world a worse place.
But yeah, that's our first star of the game, and then we'll go to the guy feeding him the rock, Shador Sanders.
One of the games of all time,
w-
despite the stat line.
was the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award winner today, which
Announced
is
in the game.
best
That was
like
sick.
it's like the best quarterback who also has best character, academic standing, like off the field stuff, included with on the field stuff, where Davey O'Brien is more just kind of on the field.
Yeah.
Set the school record today, 3,488 passing yards this season, broke his own record, 35 passing touchdowns on the year, another record. And today he was 34 for 41 with 438 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Good performance. One of the performances of all time, as the great Patrick Dawson just said.
Yeah.
But there were some horrendous
some
sacks.
horrendous mistakes in the pocket.
He got sacked 6 times, and I would say 5 were his fault. Maybe all 6 were his fault.
I mean, to lose 61 yards for your team, and to be that goal to go sequence when they started at like the 8-yard line and they ended up at the 35. That was one of the worst 4-play sequences I've ever seen in American football in my entire life.
He doesn't even make a right read on the first one. The second
No, the first one was
Well,
they
the
had
first
3
one he
people
could
in
have
the
at
end
least
zone.
thrown it away.
Yeah,
Like
and-
he was out of the pocket. He could have thrown
Yeah.
it out of
And
bounds,
then
but he spun back.
the second one, he was hot. He had a hot defender, the linebacker.
Didn't read it.
He
So
didn't even see
my
it.
thing with the second one is it kind of looked like they dropped a guy from the middle. They look like they're gonna bring 6, drop the guy from the middle. That threw off Tyler Brown in the protection, so he didn't then slide over, and then that guy came free. But still, when you see blitz, the whole
Yep.
world saw blitz, you got to know where you're hot. And then the third down one,
where he just ran backwards.
yeah, he just ran backwards, and then it was 4th and goal at the 35-yard line.
And the thing is, and when you're at anywhere basically within the 20, it's near impossible to get intentional grounding.
Mm-hmm.
Because if someone's just in the end zone, you can just throw it into the
Yeah.
back of the end zone.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
throw it sky high. So, like, you've got to have the awareness. If you see on that second down play, Tyler Brown doesn't slide over, I'm just going to chuck it up in the direction of Travis Hunter, who's somewhere in the end zone.
and he'll probably catch it.
Even if
He'll probably catch
he'll either
it.
catch
Oh,
it
no.
or it's going into the
He'll,
student
he'll
section.
jump 8 feet in the air and
Yeah.
catch it. Yeah.
And he's just taking big sacks after big sacks, and he's like, his pocket presence is sometimes it's incredible, and then sometimes it's maddening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he had some good pocket presence moments earlier where he was kind of running around the back, but instead of doing the spin out, and then he stepped up and he turned 2 of them into a big scramble. He turned one where he rolled right and he extended the play to Shepard. So like it's there, it's no secret it's there, but it's not there every play, and that's obviously what an NFL scout's gonna see. It's what Joe Schoen's gonna see when the Giants draft him. It's not there every play, but it definitely can be in 2 years or even next year, whatever.
I have 2 things. Number 1, do you still think he'd be the first quarterback off the board after this performance?
Yes.
I don't think this
We
performance
still
is-
we
No
still have to
question.
see.
I don't think it hurt him.
combine stuff
no,
like that.
No question.
I still think he's the most NFL ready. Maybe not the best college football quarterback, but he's the most.
He's got some
NFL ready.
Caleb Williams tendencies
Yeah.
that we've seen not work out for Williams in the pros.
where he's a good at, especially because Caleb Williams is a better athlete
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
Shedeur, and
Yeah.
Caleb
Yep.
tries to extend plays. Because Caleb would step up and then sprint right, and he would duck a sack. Where Shedeur,
He just
he spins out, and it works sometimes, but that's not going to work against an NFL rusher. But
imagine him trying that against Nick Benito.
Yeah. No, I don't want to mention that.
but
But then, I'm sorry. I was going to actually pivot a little bit. If you want to go ahead.
no.
Shedeur said something that kind of stuck out to me. He said he was asked about leaving his dad's team, which of course that was like an emotional thing. You know, imagine having to do that. And he said he felt deja vu in high school, in his high school days when he had to do that. And then he said, but then he came with me to Jackson State, and it was history from there. And I was like, so he's getting deja vu again. He's leaving his dad's team. But it kind of felt like he was almost insinuating, but then my dad came with me to the NFL, and then things were all right again. You know? And I'm not saying that's insinuating anything.
It is, yeah.
It's just I was like, okay, that makes sense. He's feeling deja vu with high school. But in high school, his dad came with him. And then
Yep.
in college, again, when he transferred, his dad came with him.
Mhm.
And now I kind of feel like he's getting that deja vu where he's thinking like, oh, maybe my dad will come with me again. And that's just been such a hot button issue is Coach Prime leaving. And I don't think it will I think it's not going to happen.
I
but
think he's at least finishing the first contract.
yeah,
5
so
years.
that's
I don't think I don't think half the recruits that have committed commit if they don't think.
Yeah.
stay.
oh yeah.
But that cool. Like it was cool to see. Like Shedeur was kind of emotional a little bit. Dion was really
Yeah.
getting emotional.
Yeah.
He had to kind
Stop.
of deflect some questions, but kind of those senior day emotions were definitely pretty cool to see. It's like, like I don't want to sound like we're like just like 3 haters sitting up here. Like Shador played a good game, but there were definitely some things where it's
Mm.
like if this guy's gonna be as good in the NFL as people say he is, like those are the things that he's got to clean up. So, speaking of the NFL, since season's over, cue the Philly sports guy video. You know, he's like, "So the season's over."
The season's over.
He gets it. You have no idea. You have no idea what I'm talking
What
about.
you're talking about.
So we all know Travis top 5, Shador top 5, definitely
Depends on
top
the
10.
Giants.
Depends on
Yeah.
the order. I think Jimmy Horn could be a good candidate, especially because I think he's going to test great in the combine and his speed. Nakai Hill Green should be another guy on defense. I mean, these guys are all going to be day 2 or 3, depending on combine numbers and
Preston
whatnot.
Hodge on there? I can't see from this.
No.
I don't have Preston Hodge on there.
I only think the bottom or the top 3 will get a combine invite. There's
Yeah.
only 300 people you can give it.
I
to.
know, but
Yeah.
like the Kyle Green, I think you just see
You'd be
his
stupid not
his
to take him.
intangibles. At least like a late round linebacker. Wester, I know he's small, but we talked about his hands. He really is able to get open and work the sticks on third down. And then Shiloh, somebody's going to take a chance on Shiloh in the 6th or 7th round. I mean, it's no question. Like he's been playing so much football. He knows what he's doing. Yes, does he make us all mad sometimes? Yes, but he's going to be an NFL guy. He's going to get drafted and you know, maybe it pans out. Some of those guys, maybe it pans out, maybe it doesn't. So and those are just a couple. There's probably a couple more names that we're missing, like you bringing up Hodge.
Yeah.
Yep.
But definitely, it would be kind of crazy to have a basketball team with 2 first-round picks, and then the next year have a football team with 2 more first-round picks, which would be
Might even be top 5
Top
or
5.
top 10.
Yeah.
that would be kind of crazy, just like as a
Yeah.
athletic department. Like, whoa,
That does a lot for
And
the
with
school.
the Natty.
And maybe a Heisman.
I'm talking about ski team one Heisman.
Oh yeah.
oh, a Heisman,
Ski team, yeah, ski team natty.
ski team natty,
ACHAD one.
Soccer
Natty.
team made it to the second round of the or was it third round?
Second.
Second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does a lot for the school though. If you're a potential player, like, oh crap, I want to go to that school. I
And
wanna go to the
something,
NFL
and something
factory.
Dion, again, another thing Dion said was like, when you're winning, people will be
Yep.
more likely to draft you. Like, I kind of feel bad for the guys last year, like Jordan Dominic, because the
Yeah.
team just fell off the map and
Yeah.
their stock fell. But when you're winning, when you're on national TV 12 times, like, people see that and people will notice you and give you a greater chance of getting drafted and whatnot. So, definitely hoping the best for all those guys. And like I said, like that's just 6 names. I think more. I think they could
Definitely
have more
UDFAs.
get drafted, or at least UDFAs, undrafted free agents. Good old Philip Lindsay.
The hometown kid.
But yeah, that's and then
Definitely some UFL guys.
definitely some UFL.
Maybe
guys.
ELF.
There's not enough American imports for that.
Play for Cans or.
They're getting guys that have already been playing for a few years. They're not getting guys straight out of college.
That's fair.
That sucks.
That's like Lonnie Walker playing overseas right now.
yeah.
Got us a couple years in the NBA and then
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
he's
Or
like,
maybe Dwight Howard.
the Taiwan League, the White Howard's
When he was shooting
Taiwan
step back.
Clay
threes in
Thompson,
Taiwan.
come here.
League. Now let's move to the clinching scenario. There's 4 scenarios we have our eye on. Number 1, as you see here, root for the BYU loss. That's going to be the easiest because number 1 is a BYU loss and then a Texas Tech win.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, you see it up there, Iowa State loss and an Arizona State loss. The third one is, and then all these are just 2 of the top 3 teams losing.
Yeah.
The Texas Tech tiebreaker would kind of even out whatnot. So Arizona State and Iowa State loses, Iowa State and BYU loses, or Arizona State and BYU loses. Just 2 of those top 3 to get the Buffs back in. And then, yeah, staggered schedule. We got the midday window, the evening window, and then the night window for those games. You see here 1:30, 5:30, and 8. It's tough.
It's funny. Like we never played them head to head, so we can't just be like, well, thankfully back in September we beat XYZ. We can't do that. We have, for example, the I think it's the Iowa State tiebreaker. That's tiebreaker number 3, like of the tiebreaker.
It's kinda
procedures.
crazy.
Yeah. And we played so many common opponents this year. It's a 16-team conference, so you wouldn't expect that much overlap. But I think we played like 5 games in common with Baylor, which is with BYU, which is such a huge number for however many. What do you play? 9 conference games?
Well, and
Eight.
and everyone else
9,
plays 8,
sorry.
and then the
Yeah.
Big 12 plays 9.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's to be playing that many common opponents. And we said I'm not gonna reiterate too much from the pregame show, but that Baylor and Texas Tech game is the only reason right now we still have a season in the balance.
Yep.
So, of course, Kansas stains, but let's be thankful that they even beat Baylor. A single punch out in the end zone is the only reason right now that we're looking at a potential championship game.
But yeah, root for the BYU loss. That's
Yeah.
because then you only need one loss. Texas Tech, they're going to be able to handle business pretty easily this weekend. So, and then yeah, that's kind of it. Season outlook. Prime said everyone knows a Coach Prime press conference is a gold mine. So he said on what is most rewarding this season, he said that they're going to play in this bowl game, not going to tap out.
Yep.
Peggy is number 1. We did what we said we was going to do. Number 2 is when you win, more of your young men get opportunities to go to the next level. Ain't nobody want no losers. Nobody want them. But when you win, everyone looks the part. And we have several young men in the East-West Shrine game. We're going to probably have several more in the Hula Bowl. And our kids are going to play in our bowl game because that's what we signed up to do, and we're going to finish. We're not going to tap out because that throws off the structure of next season. It's a couple teams you take note. They laid an egg in the bowl game, and they hadn't recovered since. We don't plan on doing that. We plan on going out there fighting just like we fought today, regardless of where we are. I wish we had say-so in the bowl because I want to go somewhere near that our fan base could get there economically because I care about them just that much. I think we have one of the baddest mean best, fan bases in the country. I mean, they show up and show out. It was packed today. They're loud, they're boisterous, they're supportive, and I love them. I absolutely love them because I've seen it go from nothing to something. And I think we had a lot, not me, we had a lot to do with it, you all included, by the way you come.
Well, that's something I think people are forgetting is that even if we don't make the championship, season's not over. Still got a bowl game, and I guess we can go around one each. We'll start with you, Trent. How have you perceived this season so far? What do you think overall? It's not over, but this is probably the last.
So the
pregame
season's
show we'll do.
over.
Yeah.
I can't believe you don't understand that. I'll share it after this. It's a success. It's a success. I don't care. I don't care. You see the recruits. You see the 4 recruits that came in last night. You see the 5-star quarterback that committed that I'm not going to say his name until he puts the pen to paper that's signed.
Don't want to get yelled at.
From Carrollton, Georgia. He has some guys also from his team. He's got a receiver who is very fast that is making an announcement on December 4th. So you see that. You see what they've built. You see the crowds today. Like, I remember the Thanksgiving break game against Washington in 2021. I mean, there was like 35,000 people here, and today it was 51. So I don't care. Like, I don't care that they lost 3 games. It's a success.
Yeah.
You win 9 games, 2 years, and you're in the conversation for a conference title appearance. 2 years after being 1-11 and being the laughingstock of college football, and there were maybe 14 people in the stands in the fourth quarter of those games. It's a success. And yes, the Nebraska game was bad. Yes, the Kansas game was deflating. And yes, the Kansas State game was tough because they came back and with all the injuries, and then they blew it on that
Had the ball in
drive,
their hands.
and then the no call on the PI. But I think it's a success. I don't care.
Yeah, I think this has been a historic season. I mean, I know I was dogging on their offense a lot and the penalties but at the end of the day, that's because kind of like what Cameron Simon Craig was saying when he said standard 1,000 times. It's because they've elevated the standard. I mean, 2 years ago, like you said, there's 30,000 people in the stands day after Thanksgiving.
No standard.
And nobody cared. And now everybody knows they're playing for something. They're playing for something that matters.
Yeah.
They're not just playing because they have to be because they're on the football team. They're playing because championships are in their sights. And so that's why when I'm talking and I'm disappointed about some of the stuff, that's because I know that's what the standard was. But at the end of the day, this is still a 9-win season. They're on national TV 12 times. I mean, even last year, last year was a good season,
I thought it was
and they won 4 games. And it's not all about just the win total. It's about everything else that surrounds it. I mean, to have the people that are coming into town because of this, to have the environment with the students and the fans, like everybody on campus is just so bought in because this team has elevated the standard.
And now the players are buying in.
Yep.
And you talk about let's see what Patrick keeps bringing it up, and this is Cam Silman-Craig, his last game, but he kind of made a point that there was nothing here when he got here at the start of last year, and he wanted to build something, set the standard, and let that play through for the guys who are going to be in next.
I'm from Alabama. So I remember the 2009 Alabama team that's kind of struck the match for the run that Alabama went on. So coming this year, I always wanted to be the standard. I wanted to come in here and set a standard for us to live our years and years on hand. I mean, like guys like DJ. So when they come back next year, they know the standard. So when we bring guys in here, or freshman guys in here, we have a standard set. When I came here, we didn't have a standard. So that was the biggest thing for me. I wanted to set the standard, man. Our standard is to dominate. Our standard is to win. Our standard is to 9-10 game win season. That's the standard. So we just want to come here and start a standard here. And guys like DJ and Colton Hood and RJ and Savion Riley, guys like that can continue.
And I'm glad that we talked about that because I agree. Definitely set the standard. And I talked to you, Trent, in the field house getting a hot dog earlier that this felt like the 1988 season where they
remember walking around doing that?
They didn't come. Well, the 30 for 30, I will have you know.
My dad's watching this.
Yeah.
He knows what you're talking
The gospel according to Matt.
I love that.
1988.
That season, they didn't even come close. But they were doing very well, and they set the standard. And 1989, they came closer, but they got embarrassed in the championship game.
Nope.
And that I don't think that's going to happen next year. I think they have an off season. But 1990 season, look right across from us, 1990 national champions. I think the 2026 season, our senior year, you and I, Patrick, that will be 1990. Or 1989 where they come pretty close.
I'm class
to
of
it.
27.
So am I.
You said 26.
I'm sorry.
26 season.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah,
I
I'm
got
sorry.
you. Unless
So-
I take the
Remember,
Roberto.
math isn't our thing, guys.
Yeah.
We do
We're
BDA.
CMCI
We do
majors.
I'm a
BDA here.
non-STEM.
Sorry.
But yeah, so I think that's something to consider. And I guess for me, like, it didn't matter the record. Like, as I said, I come from really rural New England. Everyone knows
This
that.
guy's from Western Mass.
Yeah, and like, I have friends from my class that went to LSU, Ole Miss, whatever. They went to exclusively football schools, and I think out of all of them, I feel the most proud of my football team. You know, LSU's not ranked. Ole Miss, they're Ole Miss, but
Ole Miss has to watch Jackson Dart CTE
Yeah.
football every week.
I feel the most proud of my football team. I love my Buffaloes, and I think this season just did so much. I know back home, even though there's no, like, Williams College, I doubt either of you know that school, is the most closest school.
Remember when we went to Williams College a couple years ago on
We
a
took a
visit?
visit?
Yeah.
Go Fs.
Go F.
But
Yeah, go F.
yeah, like, even they know CU football, you know, and so that's to me what meant the most. I think they did just an amazing job getting the name out there and keeping it going. And I look so forward to next year. I think it's going to be a blast.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, CU's not like a nobody school. Like, I mean, we had Frank Oppenheimer was a professor here. And,
What?
And, Miss Rob's brother.
Oppenheimer?
The little one. And
Oh,
like
I thought you meant like the actual
Not
Oppen-
Robert J.
No, not J. Robert.
No, yeah, not
Frank.
J. Robert.
And then, but then, like, there's astronauts.
I thought it
from
was
here.
Robert J.
It's J. Robert.
It's J. Robert.
Robert.
The J doesn't
Oppen-
stand for anything.
Glenn Miller.
Oh.
Oops. Glenn Miller went to.
And there's like astronauts, and like there's a piece of something that was built on campus. I don't remember what it was, but I saw this like a month ago. That's going to Europa
Yeah.
in space. So like the
We
school
have a
does
Heisman
cool
winner,
stuff,
a
but like,
natty.
The athletics.
but when I was in Germany, people were like, "Oh, what's CU? Like, what is
Mhm.
that?" And then when they hired Deion Sanders, and everybody's like, "Oh, I know Deion Sanders."
Dude, if I wear a Buffs hat at the airport, like it's
Yeah. I love doing that. My
It's
backpack
crazy.
and stuff.
And it's just insane how for my whole life CU was like, I know it was a good school, and I cared about it, and you know I grew up a fan because my dad grew up a fan.
Mhm.
But now it's like my school is like the school.
Yeah.
Whether anybody likes it or not.
Yep.
Shedeur Sanders wasn't lying when he said that this was every game is everyone's Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And whether you like CU or not, everybody in the country is talking about CU.
Yep.
I'll say I don't think this was Oklahoma State's Super Bowl.
Well, it may be Super Bowl
If
48.
You guys watched that game. Yeah, it was.
Maybe a little like a spring game.
Super Bowl 48.
Yeah.
That was their Super Bowl
It was
48.
a tune-up for next year.
Well,
for next year. So
and this is my first 2 seasons of watching college football. This is the best seasons of any sport I've ever watched, and it's been very, very special. And I cannot wait to see where it goes from here. And lastly, a special segment. I don't have it on the rundown, but this is our last special segment. Today is Senior Day. We're honoring all the outgoing players. Going to be interesting to see how they are next year. Trent Finnegan is also a senior here in Scoville Sports. I know things are weird with like COVID and like 5th-year things. So is this
no 5th year?
Is this last time
fifth-year
that we see
eligibility?
Trent
No
here?
5th year. I'm gonna get my News Corps done in the spring and bounce.
So this is officially Trent Finnegan's
no-
last game
no-
at Folsom.
No
of the regular
Jared
season.
Miller. No Jared Miller.
Oh.
Name dropping at the end there.
So this is Trent Finnegan's last time as a student here in the regular season, and I think even though I've only been with you for 2 years, that you've been one of the best people that I've met at this school, and I just want to say thank you. As I made this shoddily made graphic this morning,
There we go.
I want to say thank you, Trent, for everything you've done for this football team, for CU Sports Media, and we're all gonna miss you.
I will say that the graphic was my idea.
It was his.
I
He
was
texted
driving-
me at like 5 in the morning.
I was like, yo, let's make Trent a graphic, bro, for his last game. So, yeah, Trent, I think, I feel like I can call you family at this point. I'm out here without my parents. I'm just with my brother. And so basically everybody that I know is from Scoville Sports, but I feel like you and me have built a bond that's a little bit bigger than
I'm the unk.
Yeah.
I feel like our
nephews.
I feel like our bond's gone a little bit further than a lot of the people that I know in Scoville Sports, and so I'm truly grateful to have been able to spend the last 2 years. I guess at the end of this, it'll have been 2 years covering CU Sports with you, talking ball with you, seeing you at meetings, going to the armory with you, not the army.
Remember when we enlisted together?
So yeah,
Fun things at the Armory.
it's-
Fun
it's
things
Wednesdays
happen.
together editing clips.
Wednesdays at the Armory, and then me and Patrick go pick up all this equipment on Friday
Yep.
mornings, and
it's been some of the most fun of my life, and I'm gonna remember it for the rest of my life. And
Yep.
I hope that we're still in each other's lives for a long time to come. So, thank you very much, Trent.
Yeah, what's coming after this, Trent? What are your plans after?
well, I'm trying to teach Alan Bowman a thing or two about looking on LinkedIn for a job.
How old is he? Like
I
25?
think he's 25 because it's the 7th year. So trying to find something on LinkedIn, and I'll be like, "Yo, Alan Bowman." What did Alan Bowman? He was
Start a
one.
network.
He was 1 for 5 with 7 yards today
last
in
game
his
ever.
final college football game.
Poor
so,
dude, man. Poor dude.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what's next, but yeah, last day of Folsom 2024 season,
You'll be in the spring game.
You're back for
right?
spring game.
spring game.
But I mean, this is it. You're looking at the last setting sun on
But you're just gonna
CU
keep rubbing it
football
in on
here.
him. Just like,
Hey,
any minute long, there's gonna be dust coming off you.
Well,
at
you
this point,
see
bro.
you see our photographer down there who's
Nick's-
in a
Nick's-
ball of tears.
Nick's gonna hook me up to
Oh, I
a
thought you were
ventilator. So,
still
but yeah, 52-0. Colorado moves to 9-3, 7-2 in conference play. Hell of a season for these Buffaloes.
Yep.
And yeah, thank you everyone for always tuning into these pregame, postgame shows. Sad Patrick almost died. Patrick had to fill in for some people, so he's only been around for 2 of these, but these shows don't happen without Nick. Nick makes all
Yes.
these cool graphics. Nick, I couldn't tell you how to run OBS. I just watched Nick press a bunch
Yeah.
of buttons on this keyboard.
Then we
so.
laugh at him when he messes one thing up.
Yeah,
Look
I'm
at this
sorry,
idiot.
I'm sorry I didn't properly size
After
the
he sleeps-
videos.
After he
What a
sleeps,
clown.
he sleeps 3 hours a night because he's making all these.
Yeah, I did stay up making them, and like you saw, I was able to prep 5 shots from that press conference and 4 graphics.
There we
It's
go.
pretty
In
good.
like 35 minutes.
Yeah, so I love making these. I hope next year I can get credentials for next year's games. I love making. They're gonna be even better if I am here next year.
Yeah.
I promise that.
Hitting that portal.
Stay tuned for like maybe 3D graphics,
whoa.
motion graphics.
Some VR sets going
You
on?
can only watch the pregame show with 3D
No,
glasses.
I'm saying like the Fox Sports graphics package where the logos pop out.
Oh, yeah. I
And then
do
maybe
that,
like
so.
motion graphics, like instead of the teams just being still images, like the two teams, like their logos kind of mash up together kind of thing. Stay tuned. I'm going to do my best to learn for next year. And you can see it was kind of a bare bones like thing. I have like a rundown in that. But
Yeah, I'll try to worry about not dying next year.
yeah,
Hopefully.
we all have New Year's resolutions.
Catch a few
Woohoo!
more
Next year.
games.
But yeah, 52-0, Colorado wins. And as the sun sets on the final game here at Folsom Field, ScoBuff Sports, Trent Finnegan, Nick Evans, Patrick Dawson, and you heard it here first.
Go Buffs.